Very good. So welcome to the April 28th Board of Zoning Appeals Site Design meeting. I want to soon turn it over to Joel Adrian, our chairperson, and we'll get this meeting rolling here. So looks like I'm starting to see attendees fill in. So Joel?
Okay, I will do the opening statement. This is the April 28th, 2021 meeting of the City of Charleston Board of Zoning Appeals Site Design. Present are Amanda Barton, Ruthie Ravenel, Jeff Webb, Kelvin Yuji, Paula Murphy, Andrew Hargett, and myself, Joel Adrian. Present from the planning staff are Eric Schultz and Lee Batchelder. These proceedings are being recorded. We ask that those who speak identify themselves for the record. We will conduct this meeting in usual fashion. First, receive information from city staff about the application and their recommendation. If the recommendation is favorable and no one objects to the application, usually the Board of Zoning Appeals treats the matter as being uncontested and passes it as a matter of course. If, however, the city recommends against the application or there is opposition to the application, we treat the application as contested and hear from the applicant and anyone else who is in favor of the application. Next, we hear from anyone opposed, followed by a short rebuttal from the applicant. We then close the public hearing portion of the meeting for that particular application and open discussion to the Board of Zoning Appeals members only. We will then make a decision to approve with conditions, or deny the application. Board of Zoning Appeals Site Design has the authority to do three things. 1, hear appeals to decisions of the zoning administrator. 2, grant special exceptions, a fact-finding function of the board. And 3, grant variances to the zoning ordinance if the application meets the hardship test outlined in section 54.924 of the ordinance. The board may deliberate, make a final decision on a matter by a majority vote of members present at the hearing and qualified to vote, provided that not less than a quorum are present and qualified to vote. For a variance to be granted, the Board of Zoning Appeals must make the following findings. A, there are extraordinary and exceptional conditions pertaining to the particular piece of property. B, these conditions do not generally apply to other property in the vicinity. C, because of these conditions, the application of the ordinance to the particular piece of property would effectively prohibit or unreasonably restrict utilization of the property. And D, the authorization of a variance will not be a substantial detriment to the adjacent property or to the public good, and the character of the district will not be harmed by the granting of the variance.
Thank you, Joel. I'm going to backtrack to the meeting protocol slide. Staff will control the slides displayed throughout the meeting. Applicants, staff, board members, and members of the public should give their name first whenever speaking. Applicants and members of the public must be sworn in before speaking for the first time. Only attendees who have registered to speak before the deadline at noon today may speak during the meeting. Video and microphone have been disabled for all attendees. Attendees will only be given the capabilities to speak when they are called on during the public comment period. Board members who need to recuse themselves from voting will be temporarily removed from the meeting and readmitted prior to addressing the next agenda item. If the board needs to go into executive session, they will call into a separate conference line, and all video, audio on Zoom will be temporarily turned off until they are ready to return to the regular meeting. Chat has been disabled for everyone, and of course, this meeting is being recorded. Now I'll advance to our next one. So public comment. We thank you all for attending. The order on each application. The chair announces each application followed by staff presentation and recommendation. Staff will call on the applicant to present their application before being sworn in, after being sworn in by the chair. Staff will open the public comment period to receive comments from registered attendees in favor, first spoken, then written. Each speaker will be sworn in by the chair. Staff will then recognize registered attendees for public comments in opposition after speaker is sworn in, first spoken, then written. Staff will recognize the applicant for a short rebuttal. The chair will then close the public comment period and begin board discussion. Providing comment. If you have submitted a request to speak on an item before the deadline, staff will call on your name when it is your turn to speak and enable your microphone. Your microphone will be disabled after you are done speaking. You may only speak once for each item, and you must state your name and address for the record, or you will not be permitted to provide comment. Board discussion. Following public comment period, board members can make comments, ask questions, and make motions. After a motion and a second, board members will vote aye in favor or nay not in favor. If the vote is not unanimous, the chair will poll each member for their vote. The chair shall announce the vote on the motion and the final decision on the application. Again, if a board member needs to recuse, he or she will be temporarily removed from the meeting and placed back into the meeting at the start of the next agenda item. And of course, if the board needs to go into an executive session, they will call into a separate conference line, and all video, audio, and Zoom will be temporarily turned off until they are ready to return to the regular meeting. So with that said, Mr. Chairman, I do want to announce for those that may be joining us today and who have registered to speak on specific items. For the record, item B1, 621 Parrot Point Drive has been withdrawn. It will not be heard tonight. In addition, item B5, Bees Ferry Road and Sanders Road has been deferred. That will not be heard tonight. Item B6, William E. Murray Boulevard at Glen McConnell Parkway. That item has been deferred. It will not be heard tonight. And finally, B7, West Wildcat Boulevard at Glen McConnell. That item has been deferred. It will not be heard tonight. So stay tuned to the city's website. The rules do allow items that were previously advertised to be put on the next agenda. So for those that may be with us tonight and we're planning to hear and talk about those items, just stay tuned to the city website. It will be updated following this meeting. So with that said, Mr. Chair, you have the floor.
Excellent. Thank you, Eric. I guess our first item is A1, approval of the minutes from the previous meeting. And I guess I'll just ask if anybody's got questions. If not, we'll take a motion a second and go to vote.
I make a motion, we move to approve meeting minutes.
All right.
Second,
Ruthie, was that you?
Paula Murphy.
Paul, I'm sorry. Okay. So motion for approval by Amanda, seconded by Paula. All in favor, and we'll go through the roll and just say aye in favor or nay not in favor. Ms. Martin,
I in favor.
Ravenel,
I in favor.
Mr. Webb,
Aye in favor.
Mr. Yuji,
Aye in favor.
Ms. Murphy,
I in favor.
Mr. Hargit,
Aye in favor.
and I am aye in favor also, so they are approved. 7-0. Excellent. So we'll go to our first application, which is going to be item B2, and that is Ashley River Road and Ashley Hall Plantation Road. Application number is 2104-07B2. The TMS number 353-00-00009. Request a one-year extension of two variances granted by the board on March 6th, 2019. Request a variance from section 54-327 to allow the removal of 6 grand trees. Request a variance from section 54-330 to allow a reduced impervious construction setback from the bases of 2 grand trees, zoned DR9.
Sorry for not advancing these slides, but okay, so Ashley River Road, Ashley Hall Plantation, yes. So again, this was heard on March 6, 2019. They did submit the deadline prior to March 6, 2021 with COVID, and of course the not having a meeting, we're still okay. This was the application. They have to reapply, pay the same fee at the time of the item in 2019. This is the site for those that were on the board at the time. It's in the intersection of I-526, Ashley Hall Plantation Road and Ashley River Road, zone DR9, wooded site. This is the application approval 3619. This was the variance questions natural directions, information, trees. The site plan encumbered by wetlands, carving out a pocket to do single-family attached units with parking, one driveway, parking to the rear. Staff recommends approval for 1-year extension of the previous approval on 3/16 that would expire 3/6/2022. So with that said, we need to recognize, Scott, if you could help me, let's see here, 8841667, Russ Seaman. Good afternoon, Russ. Can you hear us? *6 or *9 to unmute?
All right, can you all hear me?
Yes, sir.
We got you, Mr. Seaman.
All right, Russ Seaman, 501 Wando Park Boulevard. Thank you.
Russ, yeah, let
Yes.
Joel swear you in.
Yes.
Oh, yep, sure. Sorry.
Russ, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Excellent. Thank you. And then I guess, do you have anything to add?
Nope, I don't really have anything, but I'm available to answer questions. As Eric said, same exact application as before. And I hope you could give us approval. Thank you.
Excellent. Mr. Schultz, Eric, was there anybody registered opposed to the application?
Mr. Chairman, nobody registered to speak in favor or in opposition, nor were there any comments.
Okay, so we'll close this application to the public and we'll open it to the board. I said really for a motion. I don't know that we need to revisit it. Just move this one along.
I make a motion, we move to approve, which is what we typically do in this situation.
Correct.
A second,
All right, I'm sorry, I didn't see it. Who was that second?
Ruthie.
Okay. All right, so there is a motion for approval by Ms. Barton, seconded by Ms. Ravenel. I will go through the roll. Barton,
I in favor.
Ms. Ravenel,
I in favor.
Mr. Webb,
I in favor.
Mr. Yuji,
I in favor.
Ms. Murphy,
I in favor.
Mr. Hargit,
I in favor.
and I also, Chairman Adrian says I in favor. So it's approved 7-0. Russ, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Y'all have a good evening.
So now we will go to item B3, which is 334 Folly Road, application number 210428B3. TMS number is 42405000028. Request a variance with section 54.327 to allow the removal of one grand tree. Request a special exception from section 54.327 to allow the removal of 2 grand trees. It is zone GB and LB.
Okay, 334 Folly Road, James Island. Well, just a minute here. Application. This is what ultimately is an assemblage of 4 lots. The gas station lot, the lot behind it, the old cleaners, and then there was a professional office building. So it's the gas station, those 2 large buildings behind it, the long linear building, and then the building with 350 on top of it. So it's an assemblage of 4 properties in which the property lines will be abandoned. So that's a view of the office building, the cleaners, and the gas station, and then another view looking the other direction, the gas station that has since closed, and I believe some environmental cleanup has occurred, and then the buildings behind. So there you have it. There's the large parcel once the property lines are abandoned. The proposal is to build a refuel convenience store gas station with a car wash component. This is zoned GB. It actually went through some rezoning to make it all the same zoning of GB. and it's also in the Folly Road overlay. So it's being scrutinized by DRB, of course. And obviously it's on the corner of the signalized intersection. The city and the state DOT are always interested in removing and limiting or reducing the number of curb cuts. So they have the curb cut the further south, planned south on Folly, and then a two-way movement entrance onto Tatum, again, furthest from the intersection. Obviously, good urbanism, good architecture. The structure will be in the corner with a wraparound porch for outdoor dining and socializing, meeting, whatever you want to do at the convenience store. The pumps will then be on the south side and the car wash component with the necessary stacking and circulation positioned, maintaining a fairly large green landscape space on the southern side. The Folly Road overlay also says that you have just a 20-foot wide buffer against any residential properties. So they're providing the 20-foot buffer. You can see where the curb line hugs that. There's also some easements in there, and then providing some good landscape area where those easements can't really be planted upon, but due east of the convenience store. So the two circles, as you see, three circles. One is a very large water oak. It's on a fence line between the two existing properties. The one to the east is a non-grand. It's an 813 water oak. And then you do have a double 1214 dogwood, which requires a variance out front. So this is the plan here, site plan, without the trees. There are some good looking live oak on that common property line with the residential, but they lean. They're leaners. They have a very squatty architecture to them, but they lean into that landscape area now. So there's overhead power lines on that common property line, so they're being pruned occasionally. This is the 813 water oak, just a protected tree. As you can see, it's a volunteer against an old shed type structure on the professional office building site, sandwiched between a fence and the building. Grade C as a protected tree. This is the water oak, fairly mature tree. Again, a volunteer, in my opinion, sandwiched between chain link fence. That's the driveway of the dry cleaners. I did find some, or note that there are some monitoring wells drilled throughout that asphalt, I guess due to the cleaners. But again, whatever resources this tree was receiving, it grew to quite a large size. That's the picture provided by the applicant more in the winter time. And then this is the dogwood out front. It is a double stem. You can see that the left leader is dead. It was engulfed in vines at one time and kind of suffering at this point in its life. But it did measure out to be 1214 dogwood, requiring a variance. That's another view of the vines hanging from the tree. I don't know if they cut them and they're dying or just let go. This is the chart provided by Mike Russell with Natural Directions. You have the 813 water oak poor form, the 43-inch. He believes it to be hollow, fair, grade C. The live oak is in the corner to be preserved. The 22-inch pecan is on that southern property line to be preserved, and the water oak to be preserved, and then the dogwood. So just the three trees. Staff recommends approval to plant 52 caliper inches of native canopy trees on the site. Must have a certified arborist prune and treat the grand tree and protected trees to be preserved, and must use 4-foot chain link fence on that southern side. Obviously, contractors will try and grab every available space for laydown, so we want to protect those trees. So with that said, Mr. Michael McCormick is on the phone. Michael, *6 or *9, please.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Michael.
Okay, good evening.
So,
Good evening.
Michael, this is Chairman Adrian. I'm going to swear you in. And then if you would state your full name and your address for the record, please. All right. So do you
Sure.
swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, full name and address?
Michael McCormick, 1250 Fairmont Avenue, Mount Pleasant, South Carolina.
Michael, do you have any other member of your team that needs to be identified?
No, just me, Eric.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
All right, you have the floor then, and go for it.
Yeah, I'm going to be very, very brief. Eric pretty much hit on everything that we tried to get at. We've with the building located up in the corner, as likely required by DRB, dictates obviously the canopy, the parking, and so forth. And with the location of these trees, you could see in one of the submittals of mine where it's the water oak, the one grand tree, and the 8 and the 13 they sit in the canopy of the gasoline canopy, and the other dogwood sits in the driveway and the only permitted driveway for that site. So it just prohibits adequate circulation for the site to be developed in an urban way. That's here to answer any questions or anything you need or try to.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. Eric, is anybody else registered to speak in favor or oppose the application?
Mr. Chairman, nobody registered to speak in favor or opposition, but I did receive one written comment, so I'll read that at this point.
Okay.
It was received by Jacob Beach on 4/9/21 at 9:06 a.m. And the comment reads as follows. I find it objectionable that a gas station cannot design their lot around a few grand trees. I am particularly worried that Refuel will do this again at another site they have purchased at parcel ID 30705000015 in West Ashley. We should not be allowing destruction of grand trees just because it does not fit their master plan. Have them design around site conditions and community input. That concludes the comment.
All right. Thank you. I'm going to close this application to the public. Or should the applicant have a chance to give us a little rebuttal on that, since I would say that was probably an opposed. Do you have any further comments that's going to the applicant?
No, not really. I mean, again, with the building to be required up in the corner and the parking adjacent behind it, be located against the building behind it, and with the canopy, I mean, it's such a small site. I mean, that's almost the best we can do.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. Now I will close this application to the public, and it'll be open to the board for discussion. And Eric, if I could just start to verify what we have. So the variance tree.
The variance tree is the dogwood out front.
Dogwood. Okay. The other
Yep.
two are special exceptions, which is just a fact-finding function.
Well, no, the special exception would be for the large 43-inch water oak, and then yes, well, they thought it was a grand tree, but it's not a grand tree. It's a protected tree. So obviously they're not meeting their 15 trees per acre requirement, but it was advertised as 2 grand trees on the application, but verified to be non-grand. So that's not a huge issue.
Okay.
You mean the dogwood was non-grand?
No, the
No.
dogwood is grand. That's a 12-14,
Okay.
but the second water oak is only an 8-13. But on the application, when I read it, I think it read that they were asking for 2 water oaks that were grand, but it's not grand. So that's okay. It's a protected tree.
Okay. I mean, the dogwood. Andrew, you'll be the one that needs to really kind of direct us. But looking at the picture of the dogwood, I'd say that was a gracious C on that tree, because it looked like it was having a bad day.
Obviously it's got some anthracnose in it. And you can see from so dogwoods can grow pretty large. That is an extremely large dogwood for our area. That's growing in full sun, which dogwood hates. It is, advanced age. It's got some issues. I think for a dogwood, I think C is a fair assessment for it, but to plant around that tree is ridiculous.
Bad idea. Okay.
Yeah, I would not plant anything around that tree. That tree is going to die at some point in time. Now, if we were in the mountains of Virginia, sure, we should plant around it because they lived a long time there. But
Got
not.
it. All right. Well, Andrew, any thoughts on the other two trees?
It was you got water oaks and what was the other one?
They're both water oaks.
Yeah.
Yep, they're both.
Those are not trees to plant around. Those are not long-lived trees. They grow fast. They die young. Their job is to provide shade for longer living things that come behind. And really, that one's closing in on its maximum age. And typically what happens to them, and I can already tell that one's probably got some hollow spots in it, because what happens is they break up higher from storm damage and they do not codify their rock particularly well. So the water gets in there and swirls around and hollows them out. And then they become dangerous. So,
And that's confirmed with Mike Russell's findings there that it's hollow.
Yep. He sure did. Okay. All right. Are there any other questions or comments from the board?
Can we go back to the site plan? I agree with that. I agree with those guys because you have to have the curb cut located across from another curb cut per the DOT, which is what they've done. So the dogwood's clear. And the other ones, unless they were eliminating bays and changing their program, I don't really see how they'd be able to work around the other two trees either. So.
Well, I believe that this has a lot of potential landscape area on those two sides. The one adjacent to that LB zoning, and I guess the residential on the east side there. So I think that the site, it's currently a gas station. It's going to go back as a gas station. Makes sense to me, and I believe that ultimately, when we get the replanting plan, we'll have a much more attractive property than is currently there.
And the same could be said for the other two buildings too.
Correct.
Yeah.
Eric, I didn't see the staff recommendations. Can you put those up, please?
.52 caliber inches of native canopy trees on site. Certified arborist to prune the trees in the southeast corner and along the southern property line, and then 4-inch chain link fence to protect those trees.
You feel pretty confident, Eric, we'll get the majority of those inches on site?
I feel very confident. As you stated, there is a huge landscape area on the southern side against the car wash. A good landscape on the east side of the entrance on Tatum.
Yep.
And then I think, between DRB, professional staff and TRC, we'll get some decent sized trees along Folly.
Good. All right. Are there any other questions, or is there a motion?
Joel, I'll make a motion for approval with staff recommendations.
I'll second that. It's Ruthie.
All right, thank you. All right, so we have a motion for approval with staff conditions by Mr. Webb, seconded by Ms. Ravenel. I will go through the roll. Ms. Barton,
I in favor.
Ms. Ravenel,
I in favor.
Mr. Webb,
Aye, in favor.
assumed you would be since you made the motion, but I guess we got to hear it, right? Mr. Yuji,
I in favor.
Ms. Murphy,
I in favor.
Mr. Hargett,
I in favor.
and Mr. Adrian also is I in favor, so it is approved 7-0. Thank you for your time. And I'm excited to see that change.
Thanks, guys. Have a good evening.
All right, I will move to our next item, which is item B4. And that is 565 Riverland Drive, application number 210428B4. TMS numbers are 343-1600018, 019, 021, 063, and 064. Requested variance from section 54.327 to allow the removal of 2 grand trees, and request a special exception from section 54.327 to allow the removal of 1 grand tree in zoned SR1.
Okay, this is the application for 565 Riverland Drive. Again, this is another assemblage of 5 lots in which 3 structures exist. I believe 1 will be removed. When I identify a parcel, but it's all those SR1 parcels surrounded by unincorporated and then a PUD to the northwest. You can see 2 structures against the northwest side. Those structures will be maintained, and then there's another structure a little bit further to the south. Not quite sure. It's kind of like an open meadow area in between, some trailers and stuff just laying around. So I don't know what it was or used for in the past. A good buffer along Riverland Drive with existing non-grand trees as well as grand trees. The proposal is to do a single family subdivision, maintaining the 2 houses that you see on the plan east, and then I'll let the applicant verify whether the one in the southwest corner stays or not. I believe it does. They're developing, this has been through TRC at concept plan. We're still working out some minor details, but it's basically an alley loop with a green feature in the middle. And of course, featuring a couple of grand trees. And the majority of the trees, although peppered and scattered, are around the perimeter. We got some property line adjustments possibly to do, but in general, we think we can get to buildable lots without having any tree issues. Again, Natural Directions came on site and did their evaluation. B's, C's, D's. So what we have in front of you today is the proposed access drive, which obviously is 2-way full movement at the intersection of Riverland, and then 2 trees just after getting the depth that you need for a single family lot adjacent to Riverland. The loop begins and there's 2 trees there. And once you see the condition of those trees, you'll kind of understand my position on the request. So one of the largest camphor trees I've seen in Charleston, although multi-stem, when you measure at the bottom, it measures up to be 47 inches. We all know that camphor is on pretty high up on a list of invasive species. Incredible tree when you snap its leaves and smell the cinnamon kind of aroma, but not a native, very invasive. Then you have the double red maple, which really got hammered by, I'm not sure, a recent storm or just previous storm damage, but you can see the crown is really beat up and engulfed in vines and not a good tree. The live oak, the image on your left is the larger tree in the center, not that dead stub that's nearby. Again, it's very one-sided, hardly has a top to it anymore, storm damaged, but did measure up to just be over 24 inches in diameter. So again, back to the site plan, just to show you the large camphor tree is in the entrance road, and those 2 trees on either side of the roadside swale system and drainage sidewalk and what have you, that's going to be there. Staff recommends approval with the condition to plant 62 caliber inches of native canopy trees on the project site. Must maintain the non-grand trees in the required Riverland Drive landscape buffer. A lot of discussion about allowing the lot to encumber that landscape, but in order to get their square footage for SR1, it's necessary. Must have a certified arborist prune and treat the grand and non-grand trees in the buffer to be preserved. Must place a landscape easement over the required Riverland Drive landscape buffer. So we want to, once it gets into privately held hands, it's an enforcement challenge for the city. But if somebody buys a lot and there's an easement and it's kind of labeled landscape, we hope that will encourage them to enhance that buffer, but also not think that they can go do unnecessary things in that buffer. And then must enhance the required landscape buffer with native plant material. So with that said, we have Mr. Gray Lewis with Forsberg Engineering.
Oh, hello. Was it Mr. Lewis?
Mr. Lewis? Oh, he disappeared. Gray, are you with us?
Well, I'm trying.
Okay, you're there. We hear you.
Okay, good.
Is there another member of your team that needs to be identified?
No, it's just me.
Okay.
All right.
My name- yeah.
Mr. Lewis, let me swear you in, and then if you would state your full name and address, and then the floor will be yours. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. My name is Gray Lewis. I live at 131 Old Jackson Road up in Goose Creek, and I am a engineering designer for Forsberg Engineering. I'm representing the owner as part of this. That's this development. As you can see here, the loop road, we took a great deal of effort to try and position this road to have the least impact on the trees on the property. The 2 that are in the roadway it's the least impact that we could afford. There's some very nice trees on either side that are much more valuable and worth keeping. The camphor tree, as Eric has told us, is an invasive species. And even though it's so large, it's just one that as an invasive, we would like to see gone and replaced with more native materials. We are in the process of working with Eric as part of a lot study to make sure we can get the proper lot orientations to avoid any other grand tree removals or impacts. So we just asked the board to consider this and approve this request.
And thank you. Eric, was there anybody else registered to speak in favor or oppose the application?
Mr. Chairman, nobody registered to speak in favor or oppose, nor did I receive any public comment.
All right, then I will close this application to the public and we'll open it to the board for discussion. And I guess I'll start and say I don't see an issue with the application. I think that the trees that were targeted were good choices, but I do think that it's one of those where I don't want to see this site continue to come back to us as each one of these lots starts to get developed. Like, oh, we got to take this tree out. Oh, we got to take that tree out. And then I'll let anybody else comment or ask questions.
This is Ruthie. There's a lot in the upper middle that looks like it's got some pretty serious trees on it. Might make it difficult to build on. Has that been considered?
I'll speak first, Ruthie. Yes, that has been a comment through our review process. Keep in mind, I don't know, Gray could allude to how large that lot is, but minimum lot size is 9,000 square foot. You can see, I think that's probably very close to the 4 that are along Riverland Drive, and then you got larger lots and much deeper lots. So, you know, some of these lots will have to have custom homes, and you can meander driveways, but that has been a comment that's been set forth. But to kind of get the road set in place, we felt we were comfortable bringing it forth and providing that nice green space in the middle with the trees and the stormwater facility there.
Yeah, and I'll just clarify my comments. I certainly think that we would be open to studying and looking at variants if, you know, we needed a side setback variance or something, or a rear setback variance in order to preserve those trees. That would be something that would need to be studied and looked at. But I really don't want to see approve 3 and then, oh, we got another one and another one and another one.
Yeah, we don't want you coming back with requests, because we've done that before
Correct.
and don't like doing it.
So are there any other comments or questions?
Well, the camphor tree is a absolute non-issue, and it needs to be removed regardless.
Yeah, I think the request is reasonable. I'll make a motion for approval of staff recommendations.
All right, is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Kelvin, that was you, correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion for approval by Mr. Murphy, seconded by Mr. Yuji. I'll go through the roll. Ms. Barton,
I in favor.
Ms. Ravenel,
I in favor.
Mr. Webb, Mr. Webb.
I in favor.
There he is. Okay. Mr. Eugene,
I in favor.
Ms. Murphy,
I in favor.
Mr. Hargett,
I in favor.
and Mr. Adrian also is I in favor, so it is approved 7-0. Mr. Lewis, thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
And now we're going to skip past 5, 6, 7, and we will go to item B8. Item B8 is 1500 Greenleaf Street. The application number is 210428B8. The TMS numbers are 464-00-00009 and 466-00-001 and 003. Request a variance from section 54.327 to omit the 15 protected trees per acre requirement, zoned HI.
So we're taking a trip into the Charleston Neck area, 1500 Greenleaf Street. There are the parcels involved, although I put a red asterisk really where the project is located. Very zoned heavy industrial and very industrial in nature. So here's the site. You can see that rail, it's served by rail. There's a couple of structures nearby, a fuel farm. However, you do have a pocket of trees, mainly tallow and pine, and there is a grand live oak in there in which they're going to preserve. But this is a expansion project that Kinder Morgan terminals. Basically, what's going to happen is raw product will come in on rail. It will be transloaded through a system of conveyors and train railroad-oriented equipment into containers. A lot of container storage necessary based on the rate of this transload. And then the containers will be placed on ship and exported. So that's the existing aerial. There's the contours and the tree. That's kind of a 3,000 foot view. So you see the property lines, it's kind of a mismatch and they're all out, the rail lines all outside property lines and what have you, but that's what exists. There's another view of trees with X's on them. So I apologize, but I did kind of zoom in here. So to the right of the 8-inch cedar, you see like a little L-shaped structure in front of the box. They have to lay down more rail. So that's what those black lines are that kind of go through that L-shaped thing. You know, you got stone, you got gravel, you got coal, you got all sorts of stuff coming and leaving this facility, and they need to lay down new track in order to store this specific product coming in on rail. So you have the tallows. Of course, we're not worried about tallows, but the elm and some small live oak and what have you. But they need all that area. And I apologize, it doesn't really show, just envision that whole area as a laydown area for chassis, trucks on chassis. I apologize, I didn't ask for that exhibit to show the parking area. You can see there's like a spoils mound in there and what have you, but anyway, important economic project for the region and for the area. This is by parcel. I asked them to knock it down, break it down by parcel, the 15 trees per acre requirement. So you have 8.6 acre, you have a 2.93, a 54.8, you have the existing trees be maintained based on that acreage, the existing trees. So it's a large mitigation number with the trees being removed off each of those. And we had discussion about that. And, you know, when you have a facility such as this, fuel farms, a railroad, where do you plant trees? There's an opportunity around their corporate headquarter office and what have you, but then a contribution to the city street tree program. This is the view from Greenleaf, so you can kind of see behind those existing rail cars the area of trees. You just see, I didn't have permission or did I arrange permission to go on the property, but you can see the cluster of trees there. So staff recommends approval with the condition that 435 caliber inches of native canopy trees on the Kinder Morgan in the form of at least 50 inches on the KMT properties. Like I said, there's an opportunity around their office building and elsewhere, and then the residual inches would be in the form of contribution to the city street tree program, and just they'd have to provide me some kind of document as to where they're planting the 50 inches. So with that said, Mr. Eddie Gwynn and Scott Kelderhouse would need to be identified here. Scott? Eddie Gwynn, you've been promoted.
Eric, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. How are you? And Scott Kelderhouse? *6 or *9, Scott? Or I don't know if you're on a phone.
Oh, there we go.
There
Are
you
you
go.
able to hear me now?
Yes, sir.
We've got you
All right.
now. This is Chairman Adrian. I'm going to swear both of y'all in for the record, and then when you speak, in whichever order, just state your full name and address. Do y'all swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
I do.
Excellent. Then the floor is yours, and whoever wants to start, please state your name and address for the record.
This is Edward Gwynn. I'm with Gel Engineering. I'm the civil engineer on the project. And I guess I'm at 2040 Savage Road in Charleston, 29407. Well, I don't have anything significant to add. If there's not any opposition, I don't know that it's necessary to say more about it.
Okay.
That said, if you have questions, we know a whole lot about this, and we'll be glad to talk with you about it.
Sounds great. Mr. Scott, is there anything you'd like to add?
Nope. My name is Scott Kelderhouse. My home address is 309 Rovere Lane, Hampstead, North Carolina. No, I don't have anything additional to add, we're excited about the project and the economic development in the area here. And we'd hope the board could approve for us.
Excellent. Thank you. Mr. Schultz, Eric, is there anybody registered in opposition or anybody else registered that wanted to speak in favor?
Mr. Chairman, nobody registered to speak in favor or oppose the project, nor did I receive any public comment.
Okay, and we will close this application to the public and it'll be open to the board for discussion and questions. And Eric, I've got one question. I think that you had mentioned there was a grand live oak maybe that they were saying.
Eddie, can you direct me as to where that tree is, or was I mistaken in saying it was grand? I know it's a decent live oak.
You are correct, Eric. It's a 30-inch live oak. It's
I'm trying to point it out.
It's on this plan, but it's really hard to see.
Yeah.
In the midst of all those X's?
Yeah. Yeah. The 30-inch live oak is right on the north side of an existing ditch. In fact, the canopy extends over the ditch. And so we are maintaining the ditch in its existing form, and basically extending the trailer parking, as close to the ditch as we can get it, but preserving the tree which is in the ditch, because it like Eric said, it's actually a pretty decent tree.
Okay. All right. So just for me, as I'm looking at this site plan that Eric has on the screen, I see TMS 466, and then it kind of tapers off on the right-hand side. And then there's a proposed transload facility. Where is it in relation to these structures?
So on the screen that we're looking at, let's look at the top left. There's a 13-inch HB. I think that stands for hackberry.
Okay, hackberry, got it. Yeah.
Right. Look down. There's a 7+7 tree.
Okay.
2 tallow trees, and then right below that, right there, is where the 30-inch live oak is.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah.
And we will be expanding the tracks on the top side of this page, the light colored lines near the 13-inch HB. Those are new rail spurs. And then there'll be what you're seeing on here contour wise. It's an existing pile of, well, I guess you'd call it soil / debris. That's going to be regraded to an operations area.
Okay.
But the tree, not really in the ditch, but right on the edge of the ditch, it's going to stay, along with the two tallow trees close to it. We didn't need to take those out. Okay.
Very good. But so I shouldn't be worried. I see an X on that 30 LO. That's not
no, we're not.
That's for the willow. That's the willow next to it, maybe.
It's for one of the smaller trees next to it. Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. That's all I have. If anybody else has any questions or comments.
Well, anything that's on the same line as the live oak, why does it need to come out if the live oak can be preserved? If it's on the edge of the ditch?
I'm gonna have to open up my.
It's hard. It's really hard to read this. So that we're looking at.
Yeah, me bad. I apologize. I should have had Eddie do a little blow up, but.
Eric, can you?
I see one's a 9-inch tallow, which we don't want anyway because they're invasive, right? So.
Right. Yeah. I guess there's some willows towards the further to the left of the page. Maybe you're thinking, or the little 8-inch live oaks.
Yeah, I mean, do they all have to go with your drainage improvement? Are you improving that ditch at all? I guess would be the question.
Yeah. Yes, we are improving the ditch. We're making it deeper, but we're going to figure out a way to not impact the 30-inch live oak when we do that.
So that's the challenge.
Yes, yeah, that's the tree that we're working around.
Yeah, I get it. I
Okay.
guess we already posed, we're just discussing within board now, right?
Yes.
Yes.
I guess my feeling is, I'd like to see all the trees on site. And I think even if they go up on the tree size to meet the inches, that would be good. I'd rather not see them because there's so many trees being removed. I don't like the idea of them going to the street tree fund. I think they should be on site.
That will be quite a challenge.
That
Yes,
would definitely
I guess
be a
that-
That would be a
challenge for
preference.
this type
That
of
would
a
be a
heavy
preference.
industry.
Get as many on the site as you can.
I guess that, yeah, the question there would be how, I don't know anything about the business and the maneuverability and how where they stack things, store things, or what they're doing, but it may be difficult to accomplish
we have-
435
Do
inches.
we have a site plan or do we just have that aerial with the stuff over it? I thought there was a site plan in here.
No, just that.
Eric, is
Although
there,
Eric's condition does require them to provide a landscape plan
Yep.
for him to
Yep.
approve.
Yep.
I think that I think we're covered. Or maybe we can change the 1A from well, I guess I don't know, that should be a minimum. Maybe it should be must plant a minimum 50 inches.
That would
I
be
guess that's
good.
what that is. But the goal would be to exceed that.
Yeah.
So maybe it's minimum 50 inches, goal to exceed, and get as many of those trees on site as possible.
Yeah, and even if they go bigger, since we don't know exactly what the layout is, it's hard to
Correct.
look at it.
We're just going to put it in Eric's lap. Let him take care of it.
Yep.
Well, as I stated, the Kindle Morgan terminals. So this is an aerial of everything that they operate in. Just far bottom left is their like office building, their operations office building. There's an opportunity there to plant a few trees, but everything else I think is really industrial and going to get full of dust and banged and run over and whatever else.
Well, that's the thing. If you're having the spreading canopies, where do they have space? Would be the
Right.
question. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. Anybody else have comments? Does anybody have a motion? Someone's got to have a comment or a motion.
I'll make a motion for approval of staff recommendations.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right. Who was that second?
Paula Murphy.
Thank you, Paul. All right. So we have a motion for approval with staff conditions by Mr. Webb, seconded by Ms. Murphy. I will go through the roll. Ms. Barton.
In favor, but I have to say the only reason I'm in favor is no one objected.
All right. Ms. Ravenel.
I in favor.
Mr. Webb.
I in favor.
Eugene.
I in favor.
Ms. Murphy.
I in favor.
Mr. Hargett.
I in favor.
And Mr. Adrian also is aye in favor. So that is motion carries 7-0. Y'all, thank you for your time. Now we will,
y'all have a good evening.
thank you.
Thank you.
We'll go to the final item on the agenda, which is item B9. That's 2300 Henry Tecklenburg Drive, application number 210428B9. TMS number is 30900000483. Request a variance from section 54.327 to allow the removal of 1 grand tree, and request a variance from section 54.330 to allow the reduced impervious construction setback from the bases of 2 grand trees, zoned PUD.
Okay, this is the 2300 Henry Tecklenburg Drive application. This is the site on Henry Tecklenburg. It's in a plan unit development. So it's the wooded site directly east of the assistant living facility or Alzheimer's facility care center. So this is a larger survey, but then we shrink it down to this property here. So it's not as wide as that, but they picked up additional trees. So this is under DRB review. I want to go just back to this facility. This one was a little unique in the sense that there's a fenced outdoor recreational area for the patients or residents of that care facility, and then a pretty substantial buffer and a stormwater detention area. But the award-winning project across the street obviously addresses Henry Tecklenburg very nicely. In this case, they were asked to bring the building forward, not match the setback of the other. What really became the linchpin of this layout was traffic and transportation had to require that the driveway align directly. It's slightly off from the opposing medical facility. So that kind of fixed the driveway and that forced the building to the left. It's in a special protection area, so there's a huge stormwater requirement on the project. So the large area in the back is all detention, except for the area in that required 25-foot landscape buffer against the gravel drive. So this is a dialysis center. I'll let the applicants talk more about the operations, but they do have truck delivery that comes in. So there's a little like loading dock area on the back side of the building closer to the common property line with future development next to that tree that they're preserving there. And with that truck movement and the width, that's a kind of an extra wide driveway. You would think we could shrink that down, but the truck has to pull in, then back up, and then get out. So you can kind of see how it's being designed for those turning radiuses. And again, that's operational for the facility. So we have a triple tulip poplar right on the curb line there, if you will, where the red circle is. So that's the grand tree to be removed. There is the 9, 5, 15, 20 tulip poplar. Typical, you don't find too many single stem. You will, but not often. There always tend to be double leader or triple. The next circle would be a slight impact to one grand tree. I thought it was 2, but the one on the right-hand side of the driveway is just outside the curb line. So it's just 1, so that modifies the request. Then there's a smaller tulip or southern magnolia next to it that they're trying to preserve between the driveway and the structure. So again, to zoom in, you got 1 being grand and 1 being just under grand. Staff recommends approval with the condition to plant 33 caliber inches of native canopy trees on the project site. Must have a certified arborist prune and treat the grand trees to be preserved and the protected trees within 25 feet of any construction. Must use 4-foot chain link fences, tree protection barricades, and must provide a tree preservation plan for the southern magnolia trees on the site to be preserved. My observation, Andrew will probably agree, that over time, these trees are growing amongst other trees, and when they get exposed to sun, I believe it's sun scald. So we need to really figure out how to irrigate these trees during construction, lay down some mulch, and try and mimic their micro ecosystem, if you will. So need a special plan for those. The red tree on the bottom of the building, that's as noted, it's a fallen tree. It's not, they picked it up on the original survey, but it's on its side. So.
All right.
So with that said, Herb Gillum And Herb, who else may be part of your team? You're being promoted. Herb, good afternoon. Unmute yourself, Herb. Still can't hear you, Herb.
There we go.
There we go. Who else do we need to identify?
Alex Reynolds. She is the landscape architect of record for this project.
Okay. We'll promote, did you say Miss Reynolds or?
Yeah.
Yes, yes, Miss Reynolds. Scott's going to promote Miss Reynolds. There we go.
Okay. All right. Well, this is Chairman Adrian. I'm going to swear y'all both in, and then the floor will be yours. If you speak, state your full name and address for the record. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, excellent. The floor is yours. Whoever wants to start, go for it.
I think Mr. Schultz did a good job of explaining what's happened with both.
Excuse me. If you could state your full name and address for the record.
My name's Alexandra Reynolds, 1296 Broad Street, Augusta, Georgia. I think Mr. Schultz did a good job explaining the conditions we're requesting variances for both of these trees. Happy to answer any further questions.
All right, thank you. Who else was there?
Herb, did I get that explanation on the extra wide driveway for the truck operational?
Yes, Eric, that's correct. We have to have a tractor trailer truck come in multiple times a week. So we had to prepare for the turnaround of the tractor trailer trucks. It's part of the as you said, it's operational.
Okay. Thank you. Well then, actually, sorry, Herbert, if you could state your full name and address. I don't know if we got that in this application.
My name is Herb Gillum, and I'm at 701 East Bay Street, Suite 304.
Thank you. Eric, is there anybody else that was registered in favor or opposed to the application?
Mr. Chairman, nobody registered to speak in favor or opposed, nor did I receive any public comment.
All right, if the applicants don't have anything further, then we'll close this application to the public, open the board for discussion. And I guess I'll start and say I don't see an issue with the application. Anybody else, any other comments or questions? There's no comments or questions. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the request.
All right, we have a motion for approval from Ms. Ravenel. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
So Mr. Webb got his second in. So I'll go through the roll. So the motion is for approval. I assume that's with staff conditions by Ms. Ravenel, seconded by Mr. Webb. Ms. Martin?
I in favor.
Ms. Ravenel?
I in favor.
Mr. Webb?
I in favor.
Mr. Yuji?
I in favor.
Ms. Murphy?
I in favor.
Mr. Hargett?
I in favor.
And Mr. Adrian is I in favor, so it is approved 7-0. We thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, very good. Thank you. And as I stated, 3 items next week. We may have a 4th added that was deferred. And again, thank you for taking time out of your extremely busy schedules to make this one happen. So we didn't have I had no idea what would come in for May meeting. And again, thank you for your continued service.
Eric, thank you. Everybody, I hope you have a great evening.
So Eric,
Scott, thank you as always. Yes?
do we have a replacement